Here's the next part, doing the gluing of the bottom part of the guitar. So I put some glue all over the base of that. I've got some baking paper to stop it from sticking to various parts. So we'll clamp it together. The timber that I'm using is slightly wider than the bottom sheet, so we can clamp it together. And I've got a bit of wood under here that runs through. I'll use some G-clamps to clamp across the top. And then I've got a whole bunch of these little guys down here to continue clamping. So we should have enough clamps to get this thing held together nice and tight. I shall continue gluing. The last bit of gluing. Spatula works well. Brushes tend to soak up the glue and get clogged up with glue. Spatulas, on the other hand, yeah, just wipe clean. This is the rest of it. So it's got everything's all been covered in glue. So I shall squish it together and then clamp this guy down on top. Just put a bit more glue around there, around the edges. Probably over gluing if there is such a thing. Alright, it's time to put this on top. All clamped up with lots of glue oozing out everywhere. So here's the bottom part. So I've got the two long clamps here. I've got a board underneath, a board on top clamping it together. Everything's sitting hard on these rails here. Everything looks pretty good. And the other piece, which I did about 24 hours ago, just got sitting on the bench here with a bucket on it just to keep a bit of weight on it. And that's going to be my second neck. I discovered something interesting the other day. When I made my table, I did it years ago. I couldn't recall how I put the holes in. I do know that there's holes up that end that I must have had the mill do half of it, then flipped it around to do the other half. But either way, it's not perfectly aligned. So when I did my first neck, my test neck, I found out that my table's not aligned. So I've drilled two new holes here. I ran the gantry across. I much prefer to mill across anyway, because I'm just running up and down this big chunk of aluminium rather than using the end rails to run up and down my table, which has got two motors. So most of the milling is just essentially running up and down the X gantry rather than the Y gantry. So yeah, the holes there, brand new holes, especially for the guitar here. So I'll line that up and I shouldn't have any issues. Again, I'm using a bit of the old table, so I put a bit of glue in here this time and I'll let it dry before I have a second go. But yeah, so all coming together again. But this looks pretty good. Looks all nice and flat. Plenty of glue squeezed out the sides. And the glue I'm using is just one of these. Wood glue, Gorilla glue. So just one of those seems to be enough. Half a litre by the looks of it. 532 mils. I don't think I need to do too much gluing. There should be enough to finish off the whole job. So here's the body all glued together. I did the top bit the other day, I did this one last night. So I've just got the two clamped together now. just to make sure that everything stays flat and tight. I've run one of the sets of boards down the table and the other one across the table. So just to provide a little bit of extra strength. Yeah, seems to be alright in the base of it. So I've got my hardwood running down the middle there. There's a piece of Tassie oak down the middle. Everything looks pretty tight there. Nicely compressed together. So, yeah. That bit there's coming along nicely as well. Finished the finish cut. It's really smooth actually, so I think I'll be definitely doing this on the real thing once I'm finished doing all my tests. So next I'll cut these holes right through. I may cut the hole here. Now they won't cut correctly because they are on an angle. The head's on a 4-degree angle and my bit is straight, so the program calculates where it can cut. It doesn't obviously cut into any area it can't, or it shouldn't, more to the point. So the holes won't be ready for machine heads just yet, but there'll be holes at the top that are in the correct position on both sides, so I should be able to quite easily finish those off. Same with this hole here. Once I put that in, because of the 2-degree angle that's on this, then it also won't go through correctly. But that looks good. I also changed the shape, you'll notice. I changed the shape of the head there. The one on the Red Special seemed a bit squarer. Mine was a bit too round, so I changed that. And as I said earlier, I lengthened the length of this little bit here. It was just this one here on this test, just a small one. So, I think it's a bit more accurate. I've got no idea. It's very hard to find pictures of the back of the Red Special. So here we go. It's not a bad finish, that one. Pity it's got a hole in it. Might have been useful. Here's the neck I've just unbolted. So that's the finish cut there. No sanding or anything yet. It's extremely smooth. Just with the step over that I had, it wasn't taking very big movements at all. So, and it's a little bit thinner than I was expecting. I told the computer that it was a 30mm board, but it was actually a 31.5mm board. So this is 1.5 millimeter smaller, lower than what it should be along the top here. But apart from that, everything's worked very well. So I've left the bolts in it, and I've put my CNC machine back to 0, coordinate. So it's exactly in the start position. And if I'm going to do the truss rod next, once it actually arrives in the mail, I'll mill out that. So I want to have a go at doing that before I try on the real thing. But yeah, I'm happy with this. It's coming together quite well.